Hey there, folks! If you want to stay up to date with the latest in global affairs, make sure to follow S News so you don't miss this video and all the ones coming up. And if you want to help us out, please subscribe, like, and drop a comment below. It really means a lot. The global diplomatic battle and firepower showdown has begun.
China and Russia have officially launched large-scale joint military drills in the East Sea. Analysts believe this move is a soft prelude to war, aiming to challenge American military dominance.
The U.S.,
Japan and Australia didn't wait around. They quickly deployed the Talisman Sabre strategic firepower system, the biggest military show of force in the South Pacific. The drills simulate modern warfare scenarios to prepare for a possible conflict with Beijing.
In Europe, a German intelligence ship was spotted shadowing a Russian warship conducting exercises in the Baltic Sea, a level of tension not seen since the Cold War.
Yeah, that's right. The region hasn't witnessed this kind of standoff in decades.
Meanwhile, in the Middle East, Iran publicly declared its distrust of the United States and Israel, accusing the West of using unconventional warfare to weaken the Islamic Republic. Iranian officials stated they are ready to respond whenever necessary.
Russia also issued a sudden warning about potential new attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities, and despite ongoing Western suspicions, Iran has reportedly signed secret nuclear weapons deals.
And France officially recognized the state of Palestine, shaking up their domestic political systems.
Israel reacted angrily, claiming this was a reward for what it described as internal terrorism, a move that hit it hard politically.
It's a decision that's causing waves across Europe and the Middle East for sure.
Now for the main developments. On Wednesday, China's defense ministry announced that China and Russia will hold joint naval exercises in the Pacific next week, highlighting their growing alliance.
Over recent years, the two countries have stepped up military cooperation, including joint drills and computer-based war games. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, over half of their 113 joint exercises since 2003 have taken place in just the past 6 years, mainly focusing on the Pacific region.
Although there's no formal alliance between Beijing and Moscow, they're clearly working together to challenge long-standing US military supremacy and carve out their own spheres of influence. According to a spokesperson from China's defense ministry, the Chinese Navy will join Russia's Pacific Fleet for exercises in the Sea of Japan near the Russian city of Vladivostok. The drills, named Maritime Interaction 2025, will kick off on January 1st and include land-based training. Both sides emphasized that the exercises are not aimed at any third party.
Russian statements said the navies will practice anti-submarine warfare, air defense, search and rescue, and joint artillery operations. Russia's fleet will be led by the large anti-submarine ship Admiral Tributs, while China's fleet will be headed by the missile destroyer type 052D Luoyang. The Chinese diesel-electric submarine Dianzhen and maritime aircraft from both sides will also participate.
At the same time, the US, Japan, and Australia kicked off their Talisman Sabre drills to prepare for a possible clash with China.
Talisman Sabre 2025, the largest ever held in Australia, includes long-range anti-ship missile launches from mobile land platforms, showcasing the ability to strike naval targets from a distance.
The US and its allies are working on a strategy to contain China within the first island chain, stretching from Japan through Taiwan, the Philippines and Indonesia, in case conflict erupts over Taiwan. On May 15th, the US launched its first SM-6 missile outside of the continental US, hitting a floating target off the coast of Darwin. The system, which also supports Tomahawk missiles, is highly mobile and can be rapidly deployed by C-17 aircraft to remote islands.
Canada and Germany also contributed by airlifting HIMARS rocket systems to islands like Tinian as part of fast deployment drills. Even though no live fire was used, the system successfully linked targeting sensors with launch systems.
Japan took part by launching 2 Type 12 missiles from a test site near Sydney, hitting a floating target 30 kilometers offshore, a major upgrade from their first 2023 test in the Southern Hemisphere.
Japanese Colonel Yohei Ito stressed that in an increasingly complex security environment, no country can maintain stability alone. Cooperation is key. Talisman Sabre 2025 also includes training in island-hopping warfare with air raids and amphibious landings aimed at reclaiming island chains. Meanwhile, the US has deployed missile defense systems to the Philippines, though no live rounds have been fired, amid China's growing influence in the region. In the South China Sea, particularly amid disputes with Japan over the Sakishima Islands, military drills like these are increasingly seen as strategic warnings.
A German spy ship was spotted trailing a Russian warship during exercises at sea. The German Navy intelligence vessel FGS OST, A-52 closely monitored Russian naval ships as they conducted storm drills in the Baltic Sea in July.
According to Russian sailors interviewed by Channel 1, the German ship remained within constant surveillance range of the Russian fleet. At one point, the OSTI entered a live-fire exercise zone, prompting the crew of the small Russian missile ship Bayernstor to request a course correction from the German vessel for safety reasons.
The German intelligence ship wasn't just observing. It was also recording electronic signals from the Russian fleet, including radar frequencies, communication systems, and remotely controlled weapon systems. The FGS OST, along with other German Snow 423 class ships, is equipped with advanced systems for gathering intelligence, surveillance, and data analysis.
In a Channel 1 broadcast, a Russian missile ship was seen preparing to launch a surface-to-air missile from a 3M-89 Palmer system while actively exchanging wireless data with other Russian naval ships. One of the key features of the upcoming Russian exercises in July is the deployment of a new weapon, an unmanned surface vehicle. In training, a Russian submarine practiced attacking and sinking a simulated enemy ship. The drills also involved unmanned aerial vehicles, first-person view drone systems, and undisclosed underwater drones. Studying the control frequencies and data transmission of these unmanned Russian systems, along with their tactics and algorithms, is seen as highly valuable for European navies preparing for a potential confrontation in the Mediterranean.
Iran, meanwhile, does not believe that the United States or Israel are prepared for a proper counterattack. Western forces have already used a form of confrontation.
On July 29th, Iranian Armed Forces Chief of Staff General Ibrahim Musavi said Iran does not trust the commitments of the United States and Israel and is ready to firmly respond to any provocation. According to Iran's Tasnim news agency, Musavi said the 12-day attack by the United States and Israel last month showed that both nations used their full force against Iran, ignoring international norms and laws, yet they still failed.
His comments came after the Times of Israel reported on May 28 that former United States President Donald Trump warned if Iran resumed its nuclear program, Washington would eliminate it faster than anyone expected. Trump also accused Iran of interfering in the most recent ceasefire negotiations in Gaza, which were held in Qatar.
On July 29th, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said Western demands over Iran's uranium enrichment program and human rights were just excuses to undermine the Islamic Republic. He claimed that what really bothers the West is Iran's religion and knowledge.
Iran's foreign minister said the country needs to continue its domestic uranium enrichment program to produce radioactive medical materials and fuel for nuclear reactors.
Russia, for its part, has warned of a renewed threat of attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities. On May 31st, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova expressed concern over these threats and said that renewed diplomatic engagement on Iran's nuclear program is still possible.
A Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson emphasized that any new commitment not to attack Iran is essential to restoring cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Ongoing threats of airstrikes on Iran's nuclear sites are troubling, especially when made under the guise of non-proliferation, they added.
Zakharova noted that Iran is not producing nuclear weapons and that the International Atomic Energy Agency has repeatedly confirmed this. Russian spokesman Dmitry Peskov accused certain political powers of fabricating threats to stir up fears about Iran's nuclear program and convince the world it poses a danger.
This statement came just days after former President Trump, during a visit to Scotland, again claimed that the United States had completely dismantled Iran's nuclear capabilities, while warning that the United States could strike again if Iran restarted its nuclear operations.
Iran, for its part, vowed to respond clearly and forcefully if attacked again by the United States or Israel.
These tensions have escalated since last month, when Israel launched preemptive airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, followed by separate United States strikes. There has been no independent damage assessment, but observers believe Iran's uranium enrichment sites in Natanz and Fashtun may have suffered serious damage.
France's recognition of the Palestinian state has, triggered outrage in Israel, which is accusing it of basically rewarding internal terrorism.
The British government, led by the Prime Minister, is also facing harsh criticism, both at home and from Israel, after announcing it would recognize a Palestinian state, even without a clear peace process in place.
Israel slammed the move as a dangerous warning, saying it could allow Hamas to avoid accountability and keep holding hostages. Some sources in Israel even said this amounted to recognizing the blood of those still tortured in tunnels under Gaza.
Hostage families have expressed anger, calling the decision a reward for terrorism. Families of the hostages held by Hamas and groups representing them like Bring Them Home Now argue that recognizing a Palestinian state while 50 people are still trapped underground just legitimizes war crimes.
A British hostage freed after 471 days in captivity condemned Labour leader Keir Starmer, saying this move doesn't promote peace, it only empowers terrorism. He's warning that Hamas and Starmer are both inching closer to political victory.
While London struggles to justify itself in the Middle East, senior Hamas figure Bassem Naim, now exiled in Turkey, is celebrating, saying support from Britain and France shows that victory and liberation are nearer than ever.
Though Hamas hasn't issued an official statement yet, Naim's remarks clearly signal that the group sees the recognition as a strategic win.
In the UK, the government is avoiding answering whether the release of hostages was a precondition for recognizing Palestine.
Under mounting public pressure, Downing Street insists there's no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. It's demanding that Hamas release all hostages, agree to a ceasefire, disarm, and withdraw from any future government roles in Gaza. Although, these conditions aren't directly tied to the recognition decision.
In an interview, Transport Secretary Alexander repeatedly dodged the question of whether hostage release was a firm requirement.
Unexpectedly, the Arab League, made up of 22 countries, has issued a joint statement calling on Hamas to end its rule in Gaza and hand over weapons to the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah.
This is honestly the first time in modern history that Arab nations have collectively condemned Hamas for its actions during the October 7, 2023 attack.
The statement really shows a widening rift between moderate Arab countries that want a Palestinian state free from terrorism and Western powers like Britain and France, whose policies are increasingly seen as unrealistic or even indirectly supportive of violence.
The British Prime Minister, now seen as a lame duck, was warned by analysts that Starmer's move could turn him into a symbolic leader, like something out of Duck Dynasty.
Attorney Adam Weiner, representing hostage families, said the announcement could embolden Hamas and undermine any efforts to secure the hostages' release. He called the decision morally unacceptable, warning that it sends the wrong message, that killing, rape and kidnapping are valid tools for political gain.
Peace, he said, is now at risk due to these miscalculations. France continues to push for a two-state solution, but its silence on terrorism and hostage concerns has raised suspicions across the region. Observers are now questioning whether Western powers are laying the groundwork for a terrorist state instead of real peace, in the eyes of both Israel and moderate Palestinians, further fueling a cycle of violence that remains unresolved. Well, thanks for sticking with us and listening. If you want to stay updated, don't forget to follow S News and watch our future videos. And hey, subscribe, like and comment. We really appreciate it.